life, school life, listening, when you used to listen and not have it kind of obviously disjointed by the holidays. Now we're back in the realm. And I can tell you that I'm kind of excited about it. I enjoyed the time off just like the next guy, but was ready to get back into the daily routine of doing this show, hanging out with you guys, discussing our beloved Noles and all that goes on in the world of sports outside of it to boot. Was ready to go. So for those that missed it the first time we did it, Happy New Year. We've already said that since the new year, but again, I understand. Maybe just now you're getting back into your routine, and I get it. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. On Twitter, it's at Jay Cameron Show. How are you, Tommy?
No more Wednesday holidays, right?
Oh, I hate them. Listen, I love the holiday as much as everybody else does, spending time with friends and family, having days off, playing golf with you and others. That's fun. That's a great thing. But after a couple of weeks, both with the middle of the week holidays, I didn't even know what day it was, and I felt a little disjointed and off, and I was ready to get back to work. I really was.
Yeah, next year, Thursday for Christmas and New Year's.
Works.
That's perfect. That's perfect. The Wednesday thing, it throws everything out of whack. This is nice. Clean slate. Here we go. A lot of yeses from kids, a lot of new signees. You feel like this is same head coach, but it feels very much like a clean slate in 2025.
Yeah, and Thursdays are fine for the holidays because Thursdays, for anybody who went to college or just enjoys partying whatsoever, you kind of begin those days on Thursdays. Nobody makes it to Friday. You just got to get in there to Thursday, especially back in college. Back in college in particular. You know what Thursdays were for me in college besides a going out night?
I was going to say Thursday. Yeah.
Shower beers. I always had a shower beer before going out on a Thursday evening because I wasn't going to have to drive on Thursday evenings. Where I lived, we could walk to the Strip back in the day. You could too, I guess. It would have been a bit of a walk. Bit of a walk.
Yeah, a couple of my friends lived off Ocala and Continental Oaks too. That was not bad. You go to AJ's. You go to AJ's from there. The Strip, not so much.
I lived off of Ocala as well.
You walked to the Strip from Ocala?
Frequently.
Okay.
Ocala Street, yeah. And then we cut over, and then we'd go to AJ's, which is there.
AJ's is one thing, but the Strip was.
You're right. The Strip kind of sucks. The AJ's was awesome. Poor Paul's was awesome.
The Strip was awesome. Yes. Okay. So you had Bullwinkle's, Poor Paul's for 21 plus. Then the Strip, the other stuff.
Yeah.
When you were under 21, yes, absolutely. But as you got older, you realized, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of branch out from here.
By the time you're 24, you're done with the Strip. You're like, I can't even. 25, yeah.
Yeah, 24, 25, you're aging out / aged out, past tense of Bullwinkle's even. Poor Paul's you could get into your early 30s with, but Bullwinkle's, once you get to about that doctorate level, you are too old.
You're too old. You're just too old. Hey, while we were away, Florida State won a basketball game. I'll get to it in a bit. Not now. But they did beat Syracuse over the weekend, just so you know. We are all set with the NFL playoffs. Hour 3 will feature almost all NFL talk, so plan your day accordingly if that is where you're at. I try to mix and match on the JCS for that bonus hour. We get into non-FSU stuff. The central theme of the first 2 hours, generally speaking, since we've come on board with Warchant, is more Florida State / college football intensive, which makes a lot of sense as well. And speaking of that, I should note that we're all set, man. We are all set when it comes to your schedule for the week and what you can sit down and watch and get excited about and, tune into in terms of the playoff and what's going to be what. I'm kind of excited about it, frankly. I'm ready to go. I just noticed that did we miss? No. Okay. We're good. First one's not till. I was just thinking it was one more bowl that I was unaware of. There's not. You have the Division 2. Is it the FCS championship tonight?
Could be. Yeah.
I think that's tonight. I knew there was something that I wasn't thinking about.
That's smart. I know. So this week, what I have on the list is
Thursday, Notre Dame, Penn State. First.
Yeah. That's it starts a string of playoff games for 5 straight days, which is awesome. Laid out very, very nicely.
Beautiful.
But I'm going to give the TGL a try tomorrow night. It's a novelty. Could be terrible. I could shut it off within 15 minutes. But the debut of that indoor Tiger Woods Team League thing is tomorrow night. So I got that Tuesday, take a break of everything on Wednesday, and then get into your playoff football Thursday, Friday through next Monday. Beautiful.
It's a good slate of what am I doing in the evening
Yeah.
this week? What do I have this week?
Then
You're
you got,
right.
You got the Sony.
Right.
For
The
late
Century
time.
didn't disapprove. Didn't disappoint. Excuse me.
Yeah, Saturday's close was the best.
Yeah.
That was the best of the weekend from the Century. Saturday was good.
Oh, I'm just throwing stuff out here. I'm so disgusted with the Century.
You really wanted Morikawa to win, huh?
No. I was fine with Matsuyama, who I absolutely adore. I was actually on the air checking my finished wagers to see. Yeah, I got a top 20 hit for Robert McIntyre. I did not get the outright with Cantlay or Thigala. Got a top 20 hit with Cantlay. Got a top 20 hit with Robert McIntyre. Already said that. Max Homa disappointed me. No top 20 there. So kind of a mixed bag. A little mixed bag. My top 20s, top 10s.
Yeah, but it's a bag. That's the key.
I broke even is what I did.
Think about it that way.
Yeah.
It's better to have a bag than no bag.
Yeah.
Be it mixed or otherwise.
All right, so a bunch of players coming and going. And the theme for Florida State in the portal, without question, has been, and we thought it would be, it was kind of even hinted at, nobody was ahead of the curve on this. We all knew that after last year's absolute debacle, that they would have to go out and find what they could classify as close to sure things as possible. And when I say sure things, it doesn't mean that a guy that you're bringing in is going to be an All-American, that he's going to be one of the 3 or 4 best players at his position in the country or in the conference even. It just means that it has to make sense, and you had to have seen them produce at the college level, not be a guy that they hope would at some point, based on high school resume, who he was recruited by previously, but rather I've seen him play in college, and he's done good things in college. Respective to the conference he was in, the team he played for, whatever it was, this is a guy that logged real snaps as a starter or a backup, played significant roles and or minutes for his team in college football. And therefore, I can say, I know, and to varying degrees, that this guy can play college football. He's not a wish. He's not a pipe dream. He's not a, well, maybe, we'll see, I hope. Everybody says if it wasn't for that ankle injury his senior year of high school, he would have played more his freshman year at such and such school. We're banking on the fact that he's fully recovered, and therefore we're going to get the best version of – no. These are dudes that have been, for the most part, not every one of the guys that they've brought in, but almost every one of the guys they've brought in, almost has been productive in college. So that's a good sign. I think that's the right approach. I think what you're watching is the ever-evolving portal where things change on the regular, where guys did it one way 3 years ago, and it's now a different way that has to be utilized and tapped into because other schools caught up. Florida State, along with a couple of other universities, and this is where Mike does get a lot of credit, was at the forefront, and that was out of necessity, which is the mother of invention. And so he recognized, I'm screwed here. I don't have anything. I don't have anything to work with. I'm coming off the heels of disappointment for seasons, plural. I need to infuse this roster with some real talent. And because at the time that he jumped into it and he jumped into the deep end, he was able to take advantage of sort of a pseudo unknown and something that a lot of other schools were looking at or approaching with kid gloves. Just, I'm not real sure, unless you had an elite player who was really, really unsettled and angry with the situation he found himself in, but he had been uber productive, like an Addison or somebody like that, right? Where a receiver leaves Pitt and goes to USC because he was upset with the situation at Pitt. An offensive mind was going to Southern Cal along with a stud quarterback, and he was going to take his services there, and the marriage worked. He produced, he put up big numbers. For the most part, though, people kind of just didn't know how to handle it. They didn't even know what the rules were, what you could and couldn't do, and what they would be allowed to do, and Florida State didn't have time for that. They went out and jumped in that portal, and they did a good job of analysis. They got a little lucky. Because I doubt very seriously that all of the guys that produced in the manner that they did would have been projected by them to do that well. But they get credit for that. And just like they get blamed and ridiculed and ripped for what happened last year when they brought a bunch of guys in that, frankly, did not help the cause and were guys that you were hopeful would take another step and either didn't produce or got hurt or both. And therefore, you swung and missed. But now everybody's in. Now everybody uses the portal, pretty much everybody in the same. Even Dabo's coming around. So now the marketplace has shifted. So finding guys that are going to come in that have played a lot of college football means they can hit the ground running. And you don't have to wait to find out, where they fit. If you watch film on a linebacker who played in 12 games last year, 200 plus. I mean, if you got people that are playing to the extent where, you'll get a guy like Squirrel White. We talked about Squirrel when we did a show a week ago. We knew he was coming in, the funny nickname and all that. But more than that, Squirrel White, undersized receiver, a slot receiver and return man, wicked fast, was recruited by Georgia and others from Alabama, was a guy that people wanted because of his speed. You can line him up in the slot. You can get him the ball in space. You can utilize him in sweeps. You could do all these things with him. If you could get him in space, he's a problem. He's an explosive player. Well, he proved to be that in college. You go back and you look at the numbers and you see what he was, and he was very, very productive. Now, unfortunately, his production took a bit of a step back due to injury a year ago. So do you have some question marks about who he is? Yeah, you do because of the injury, but not because of the lack of production. He's been very productive in college at Tennessee, very productive. It's just that his snap count dropped considerably a year ago due to the injury. In particular, what worries me is not the shoulder injury. He's an undersized guy. Small guys often get hurt. That's why I usually don't want smaller players, because it's a brutal game, and eventually you do get caught up in the injury realm. But I was a little bit more concerned about the knee that he had a year ago. So we'll see with him, but presuming he's healthy, he's been very productive. The numbers have been very, very good. And if you bring in players that have had 25 starts in their college career, and guys that have 32 starts in their college career, and guys that have 18 starts, that's a lot. That's a lot of times to be starting a college football game. And Florida State has largely, no matter where you look, brought in guys with substantial starting time, or at least playing time, maybe not the starter, but significant playing time, where you could track the productivity, track how, in some cases, track defensive players and how they would fit in your scheme. Some of these guys that come over from Nebraska and others have run a similar scheme. So I think that that angle, that approach was the smart approach. I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to presume that everybody's going to play at an elite level and that we're going to go from 2-10 to 10-2. I'm not saying that. I am saying that we're going to walk into that first camp with all of these new faces and all of these new names and know that they are guys that have really produced. Oh, a good example. So like a Randy Pittman had 51 receptions. I mean, the dude has played a significant role, and he's played in Gus Malzahn's offense. Deuce Robinson, who we talked about last week and how we got excited about Deuce. Deuce is a guy that in his 2 years at Southern Cal has nearly 40 receptions. Now, that's not a ton, but that's not nothing. And for a younger player, that's a guy, and you can see how he would work in this system. You can see how he'll be the big play guy in a lot of ways, because I think they're going to set it up to where he's going to get some one-on-one matchups, and he's going to be able to make plays with that huge physical advantage that he has. And he's an athlete to boot, to go with the 6'7" frame and the big body. You get teams to suck up on defense because they have to guard against the run over and over and over again, and guard against the quarterback run, which changes the math. And eventually you get these pops, these down the field big plays. That's kind of what they're trying to get done in Gus Malzahn's offense in the passing game. So I see the direction they're going. I like the direction they're going. I don't have any idea how successful it will be in year one. But I do know that they've grabbed a bunch of dudes who've put up numbers and played big-time college football.
What I like is you look on the defensive side of the ball and you see that now you've got two waves of linebackers in a 3-3-5. If you can get to a 3-3-5, and we'll see whether or not that's the implementation of year one, if it's a partial amount of what we run defensively, if it's the predominant thing that we run defensively. It's not as though we didn't run 4-3 last year, but your options were limited. And, DeMarco Ward, God love him, was in a lot of games, and he's a fine enough college football player, but if he's rotating in on the regular, and you're realizing that you're pretty thin at the position. And now it led the way. The portal season did with Stephon Thompson coming in. He understands the scheme, what Tony White is asking. So much like what Pittman is to the offense and Medley on the offensive line from UCF, they understand where they're coming from and what the scheme is supposed to be. Stephon Thompson is much the same. Then you add the LaValle kid from North Carolina, and he signed on Friday. And then you get Elijah Herring, who's played a ton of linebacker at the collegiate level at Memphis and Tennessee. He was here this past year in Tallahassee. You now have those three guys to go along with Blake Nicholson and Omar Graham and Juice Cryer. And that is it. You're too deep.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, the guys that you were playing a lot last year could be your backups, or you could have one of those guys in your starting rotation. I mean, I like what they did there at linebacker. They're not done, apparently, at receiver. They might still want one more receiver, which I find interesting because it's not like Hakeem Williams left. But they want production. They want proven production at the position. At defensive line, they still might have a couple coming in, but they've got about a handful now. So, yes, they're attacking the problem with numbers. They're attacking the problem with proven commodities. Doesn't mean that they're proving to be all conference players, but you can see that they're saying, look, I need a clean slate here. These new coordinators are coming in. They're looking at the talent they have. They're watching the All-22, and they're saying, that's wonderful if that kid's a 4-star, or that's wonderful that he's been on campus a couple of years. I need more now. And I like that approach.
Elijah Herring was a guy that last season, when he was available, I was on the air talking to you about how there's the kind of guy we need to go and get. I was frustrated that the word over at Florida State was that a certain linebacker coach was disinterested. He thought Elijah Herring was too big, that he wasn't going to fit what he wanted to do. My argument against that at the time was he plays linebacker at Tennessee. The SEC is a very physical league. It's a man who has over 140 tackles and 11.5 tackles for loss over these last couple of years. This is a person who has been uber productive in a very good league and had a good year at Memphis last year, has done it on the field repeatedly at that size, was at times sideline to sideline in the SEC at Tennessee and was part of their turnaround. And our linebacker coach didn't seem to be interested in that level of player. I said, not to be an ass, compare and contrast what we're rolling out there and what that guy has produced playing big-time college football, and tell me why it is we're not interested. So now you circle back and you bring him in. To say I'm excited is an understatement. I'm very excited. He's been very productive. This is the theme of the opener here. There are a lot of guys who fit that mold. I don't know how well he'll play in a 3-3-5. I don't know how well any of these guys are going to perform this year. We'll see. How quickly do you put this group together? How quickly are they able to produce, like you were saying, at a high level in a new scheme for many of them, not all of them. Some of them played this or elements of it. But again, I like this defensive staff. I'm very excited about the coaches they've brought in on that side of the ball. I'm excited about the changes I'm going to see offensively on the offensive line, excited about the run game. I have my question marks about the ceiling long-term of what this offense will be. I've made that known, but I do think in the short term, this offense can be successful. I think it's kind of in a transient world of college football players in which they come and go. It's easier to teach this. You can have success with it from day one. Again, we'll worry about 2 and 3 years from now if we're hitting our head on a ceiling. Let's get to the ceiling. Let's get to the 8 and 9 win plateau and start talking about, can we do better? Let's get there first. Defensively, I think you're going to see immediate changes. I think they're going to be attacking. I think they're going to play fast. I think they're going to play violently. I think they're going to play downhill. And I think they're going to pressure in ways that we didn't see a year ago or 2 years ago. And I'm excited about that flat out. I think that that's going to be better. Just an opinion as I sit here in early January, but I believe that to be true.
Yeah, this is the thing where, again, you're looking at the holdovers on the roster. They're going to tell you a better story when we go out to practice of how they're trying to implement their vision. because some of these new guys might already have it in their football DNA, in their development pattern, that they're going to play aggressively. Like Stephon Thompson, I imagine, while maybe he starts, maybe he doesn't. I mean, his production was okay at Nebraska. Maybe he doesn't start for us. But you know that he's going to have his mind in the right place because he chose to play in the same scheme. He could have gone a lot of places. He's like, no, I want to go play in the scheme that I'm just leaving at Nebraska.
Right.
So what I want to see is with these players that are holdovers from the previous regime, how are you going to get the most out of them? What drills do you implement? What words do you use to evoke more from a Juice Cryer, from an Omar Graham, from a Blake Nicholson? If they are to turn into early success stories for Florida State, yes, John Papuchis is going to be their position coach, but the message and the theory of the defense is going to come down from Tony White. Just there's a whole lot of moving parts there, and I can't wait to find out how they do that. And it's ditto for the offense. Right now, as it stands, at minimum, one of your starters on the offensive line is going to be a holdover. Maybe they go grab another kid or two before this is all said and done. But let's say that Otto turns into a very good player this year.
That's a good chance to.
It's not a stretch, right?
Yep.
But how is he coached? Does there seem to be, by the time we get out of spring and into fall camp, more hope that, oh, man, he looks like he's productive? Or does the light bulb come on for Lucas Simmons, like Jalen Early, maybe one of these young guys who are holdovers in the offensive line? How does Herb Hand attack them? What drills does he put them through? What words does he use? That's going to be the fun part. Now, there is this whole other thing called the season where you don't want to win merely 2 games or 3 or 4, and that's going to be its own beast. But for right now, the transition is what we're covering. It's the transition process. And it's going to be fascinating because you're going to need a roster when we get there for spring. New names, new numbers, new coaches, new everything. We're not going to have all these things memorized out the gate. But then how do they go about the process of it? It's not going to happen overnight here.
Yeah, that's fun, though. I mean, I know people are burned. People have been torched by what was a godforsaken, pathetic season that has us all still scratching our heads about how it was even possible. So I know that there's no day come spring that we walk in here after practice and say, hey, by the way, not for nothing, but so-and-so looked really good today. And the offense was humming, or the defense played great, or whatever it will be, because if I were listening to that, I were listening to me, and I hope you do, I'd be driving down the road, or I'd be on my walk listening in my my AirPods or whatever the hell you got, and I'd be going, we'll see, Cameron.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, buddy. I mean, hey, look, I like you, Jeff, but you guys all thought the team was going to be pretty good this past year, and they went 2-10. True. And there's nothing that I would push back on that with. I'd say, yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
Noel Dad put it in the chat. I don't want hype. I want results. Now, if you literally mean that, we'll see in September.
Yeah.
Because all we can do is cover something that is not a result. We can tell you how it is happening and the efforts they're making. But, I mean, if they have a good day of practice, that doesn't mean that they're going to – Kyle Morlock had one of the great camps a tight end has had at Florida State.
Yeah. No, but I get the overriding point. I mean, as long as that hype is not coming from – I'll be honest with you. As long as that hype is not coming from Mike Norvell.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. The hype originated with Mike Norvell speaking in grandiose terms about his offensive line and the team that he had put together and how much he loved them and how good he thought they were.
Well, and also with the understanding, I'm going to use it a lot in 2025, the fog of camp. We're playing each other. We're playing our own players. So there's a limit to that. Stanford Samuels III was at one point one of the most dominant defensive backs in a fall camp that we'd seen in some time. The reports out of camp were amazing. You know why? Receivers were awful. Trench battles every day this past year in fall camp were very good, compelling. Offensive line won enough. They won enough in fall camp. You know why? Defensive line was napping. So, that's going to be the limiting factor here. But how are they going to implement this? That's going to be the fascinating part. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to the record. I'm burned just as you are too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trust it, but what I'm going to say is I know that when they're going against other Florida State players in this specific setting, they're winning. I don't know if that means they're going to win when there's another helmet on the field, but we'll see.
I do think one of the things that we can do, because I will say this, individually it is much easier, and we didn't get that as wrong if you go case by case. Individually, you can talk about what a guy's skill set suggests he should be able to do. Now, when you put that singular player on the side of 11, right, then you have to, these things function as a unit. So a defense works together. You can have a guy who has a great camp, and he might be a starting corner. Well, great. If the other 10 are sucking ass, who cares? It's not going to matter. You're going to lose, and you're going to give up a lot of points. So, individually, you can go back through here and say, hey, look, I think this guy's a good player. We'll see collectively whether that means anything. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Great to be back with you.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limited. NMLS number 373303.
Hey man, have you heard about the Talco Jewelry's the best in town? Rings, diamonds, earrings, bracelets, and more. And Talco Jewelry.
When was the last time you randomly did something nice for someone that means a lot to you? Now, I say this every day at the end of my show for everybody to be a better person today than you were yesterday. Well, one way to do that is to drop into Pentalta and get a gift for someone who deserves it. It'll brighten their day, their week, maybe even their year. You don't have to wait for a holiday or special occasion, so don't wait to go check out a true local gem serving Tallahassee since 1988. Now, sing along with me, and I'll see you at Pentalta.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code AIRPORT25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code AIRPORT25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code AIRPORT25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Don't miss TSC Tuesdays every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. during the Greg Tish Show. Find out what's happening at Tallahassee State College every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 FM.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I was doing that thing during the break where I was going through all the kids that have come and gone so far in the postseason, and you're always looking at the guys that you've brought in and guys that have exited the program. But you know what may end up being very, very underrated? That Luke Pettibone get That feels good. That's a lot of football played at a very important position.
It's also a new player at the position, so that probably in and of itself feels like, okay.
It's a welcome respite from the old. But he is, this gets back to my point, how many games that dude has played in, how many starts that kid has, and how much production you've already seen in this league. It's a big to-do.
Well, that's across all positions, too, on the line. I mean, this is going along with that trend. Maybe they go dip into the portal for a kid who has started a handful of games and has shown some promise. But for right now, their approach was to go get proven players. I got to tell you that there was a thread on in the Renegade room about it, but Micah Pettis is the guy that I'm excited about. 6'7", 350 pounds.
That's a big man.
I mean, that tells me, and that's a tackle. So that tells me what you want to be about. If he was 6'7", 305, that also tells me what you want to be about. Maybe 5 wide, spread it around. 6'7", 350. Okay. This is much like my gripe about first baseman for Florida State baseball.
You don't have to worry about that lately.
No, I don't. We don't have to worry about a 6'1" guy trying to leap for an overthrow.
Salvage a bad throw, yeah.
And salvage a bad throw, but he's not tall enough, so his foot's not going to be on the bag. I'm like, this really feels like that guy could be a catcher and not a first baseman. He's out of position, and Link Jarrett has fixed that, and that's a wonderful feeling. In the same way here, you've got yourself a guy on the right side, because I don't think he's going to play left. Gunnar Hansen's going to play left, and Pettis is going to play right, but I'm excited about all this because, again, of production. These are veterans you're bringing in. You're right. It's nice to have an anchor in the middle in Pettibone, but I really like the approach that they've got here. And if you don't get another one, I think I'm pretty happy with the 4 that they brought in.
And you might, but again, if you just start there, Tom, we keep talking about production. We wanted a brand new line of scrimmage. We wanted some sort of hope there where there's been productivity at a high level, players that have played the game in this conference or one close to it like the SEC and done things, right? So tackle, replaced, productive players in the SEC with real viable stats. I mean, you're talking about the Pettis kid is a monster. First of all, watching him walk through the door is going to be kind of fun just for us, just to see him the day he takes the field. He's every bit of 6'7". At one point at Ole Miss, he was 364 pounds. We're getting a bit excessive at that point, but that's a big, big man. But more than just being a big, big man, we talk about, again, with the Vanderbilt kid, like you just brought up, but he was a freshman All-American third team, but a freshman All-American. He was an All-SEC second teamer. So he's progressed each year. You've seen the results in that league. Do I think he's the best tackle in the league? No. But you've got a bona fide player who has had real credentials, real reps in a real league and been productive.
Yeah, you've seen all of these guys have good moments against upper tier competition. They don't always do great against that competition, but they handle the lower level opponents that they face.
Middle and lower, they dominate in a lot of cases.
Yeah, again, this just reestablishes a floor that's not 2 wins, as long as they stay healthy. Right? But
it at least does that. Yes.
Well, that's the first goal. I mean, we're needing to crawl again. It's amazing how quickly we had to go back to crawling before we could walk, and here we are. But it feels, dare I say, like you brought in a bunch of professionals. These guys have been there. They've done it. I don't know what their mindset is like, but I know what their grades are like. I know what their snap counts are like. I would imagine if you're Herb Hand, you don't have to hold theirs. You bring them in and you allow them to do what they've done, and you just need to get them to gel together. But that excites me because they're throwing numbers at the problem, but they're throwing productivity at the problem. There's a big difference than just bringing in bodies and from throwing a lot of production and a lot of experience, which they've got.
See some guys in the chat talking a little bit about that Alabama game and looking ahead already. Look, that's only going to build as we get further and further along into the offseason and you begin to actually wrap your mind around that game while other college football games aren't being played and all of the comings and goings in the portal is over with. Don't forget, you can still get a guy or two in April out of the portal. There's going to be a moment where you can do it. The problem with getting guys out of the portal in April is it's much more expensive and you may be paying more for less quality in April because that's it. That's all. It's your last chance, and people will overpay for a player that you get later than what you get now. So the thought is be careful. You know, I have a question about the Utah State running back. Why are we bringing him in? Why is that the effort?
That's a Gus assessment saying I don't have what I like here.
Yeah.
That's what that is, right? It has to be by definition.
I know for a fact we all do that was an expensive price to pay to flip the running back from Georgia to Florida State, and he has the physical tools and makings of a guy that plays right now. Be interested to see. They got volume in that room, and some of it's pretty high quality, including the one that's coming in out of high school.
I like how when they throw numbers at the problem like this and the experience is it seems like you're slotting people down to where they should be. And so now there's a little bit of pressure off of if you're a younger offensive lineman or even a third or fourth year offensive lineman in the system that, hey, all I've got to do is this. It's successful baseball teams, successful baseball franchises. I talk about this a lot. The Braves have been like this for a long time.
Yeah. The
Cardinals. Their rookies come up and they hit 7th or 8th in the order. You know, and they're stud rookies. They've always hit 3rd their entire life or you know, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. But they come up to the bigs and they hit 7th or 8th because they have so many studs in their system. There's no pressure on them. If they perform 7 or 8 and they graduate up the ranks, it is through merit. It's not because they're depleted as a roster. I feel like we're starting to see that a little bit here with the transfer portal approach.
Yeah, sure.
If you're an offensive lineman, let's say you're a tackle on this roster and you start this year and there are no injuries, that's because you developed and there was no pressure on you. No, you weren't forced to play too early. Same thing for the defensive linemen that are a bit younger, like a KJ Sampson or a Wynn. If you see Wynn play this year,
I believe you will.
Well, if he does, it's not because there was pressure on him to have to perform immediately. Think Timmy Jernigan. Timmy Jernigan could have been more in the rotation in his freshman year at Florida State, and he was already significantly in the rotation. Or Eddie Goldman, but they didn't have to be the studs right away.
No, and Wynn won't have to be a stud. When I say he's going to be on the field, I think that he is fortunate enough to be at this young age put together in a way that you seldom see. You know, you don't see 330-pound kids that are stocky and thick and ready to roll like he is. I mean, that's kind of surprising. You could rotate him in 10, 11 plays, you know, like a game. You don't need him.
You could say the same thing for the receivers. McCoy or Moore or BJ Gibson, there's less pressure on them now. And maybe they go, maybe they don't, but there's less pressure on them to have to do it. Blake Nicholson, there might be less pressure on Blake Nicholson this year than there was last year because of what you brought in.
I hope so. I mean, Blake was okay last year, but it was a brutal situation. It wasn't ideal. And yeah, no, I don't think you'll need, Blake will get challenged now because of what you just brought in. And let that competition, well, you're striving for that everywhere. I mean, we've been striving to have some sort of intense competition, segment group by segment group. And, you know, the other part of that is let that competition play out. And what do you say we not, you know, when a guy wins the job, we not rotate him out a ton? Certain positions I understand a little more than others, but we did fall in love with the idea that we're going to minimize reps for people. I'm like, they're 19, 20 years old. They'll be all right. Big boys. The offensive line in particular, you know, I watch a lot of NFL. Bet you do too. All of you out there. Penei Sewell ain't coming out of the game, baby. You're going to be out there for every single snap of that bitch. That's right, because he's paid a lot. And he's their best player at the position. Your starting center wins the job. He's your starting center. Starting right guard is your starting right guard. Unless he gets dinged for a play or two or it's a nothing game where you're up by 30, he needs to be out there, dominating. Get that cohesiveness going. Let's stop rotating people every 5 seconds. I want that to be true just about everywhere. Let's buck up.
You know I'm happy about that if it happens.
No need to be rotating our ass over and over and over again.
Lawrence Toafili on the carry, 9 yards. Lawrence Toafili on the carry, 6 yards on the play. Sam Singleton into the ball game.
Good luck if you'll see Toafili for an hour.
No gain on the play.
Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, my man Shannon Young, best in the biz, loansforknowles.com. That is loansforknowles.com. Let him save you money, improve your credit, and fulfill your dreams. Guy works tirelessly all hours of the day, every day, all day. And he's smart, and he cares, and he's a Knoll, and he wants to help you. Go to loansforknowles.com. That is loansforknowles.com to learn more.
Your local
Local news now.
The First District Court of Appeal has rejected Charlie Adelson's request to allow the judge to preside over his murder trial to consider conflict of interest claims. The first DCA issued a one-paragraph order denying his request on Thursday. Charlie Adelson was sentenced to life in prison in December 2023 for the 2014 murder for hire of his former brother-in-law, Florida State professor Dan Markle. In October, Charlie Adelson's appellate attorneys, Michael Ufferman and Laurel Niles, filed a motion asking the appeals court to relinquish jurisdiction. Additionally, the two appellate attorneys requested to allow Circuit Court Judge Stephen Everett to determine whether a conflict of interest affected Charlie Adelson's trial. Just days later, the state responded to Charlie Adelson's claims, saying there was no proof that having the same lawyer as his mother, Donna Adelson, at that time would have changed his guilty verdict. Charlie Adelson's motion came just a month after the trial of his mother, Donna Adelson, was halted, citing conflict of interest concerns. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly clear skies this afternoon with a high of 69. Winds out of the northwest, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 32. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. High temperatures reach up to 50 tomorrow. Mainly sunny. Partly cloudy Wednesday with a high of 53. 51 Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 66 degrees.
Take a sip and have a trip with Tallulah's famous THC slushies. Lots of fun flavors to choose from, refreshingly delicious, and the perfect way to relax. Stop by Tallulah's and try the all-new sugar-free Jolly Rancher slushie today and find out why everyone is going mad for honey. A rare, intriguing, deep red honey harvested from the mountains of Nepal. Mad Honey is the latest trend, creating quite the buzz. Literally. Try Mad Honey today, only available at a Tallulah store near you.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. You two at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean? There was
Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No, I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Second half propels Florida State to a 90-74 victory over Syracuse. Saturday night, I know, not a ton of people watching. Not a ton of people watching 90-74 at the TLC Double C for Florida State, earning their first ACC victory of the season. Syracuse hadn't been good coming into that game. In fact, Syracuse, along with North Carolina and some other traditional blue bloods, kind of stink this year. Something to behold. I don't think Carolina's going to make the tournament. Syracuse came into the game 6-7 overall, 0-2 in the ACC. Now, that part of that descriptor is fair, but it's also fair to point out that the point guard, J.J. Starling, hadn't played in a while, and he was going to be making his return. And I figured, oh, of course, yes, make your return against Florida State. Why not? You couldn't miss another game, could you? So he got good again, and anyhow, they went through a bad stretch where he broke his hand, and then all of a sudden you thought this is going to be tough. But Florida State wins the game, and both teams shot the ball well. I was just looking at the numbers during the break. I thought, oh, maybe we finally shot the ball well, and I was like surprised to see that we had, because I tuned in kind of intermittently into this game, not going to lie. But one of the things that stood out looking at these numbers is that Florida State only gave up a single offensive rebound in the last 20 minutes of the game to Syracuse. Well, that's nice. We only committed 3 turnovers in the second half. All right, how about this? You stop others from getting second chance opportunities via offensive rebounds, and you don't turn the ball over, which leads to easy transition buckets. you got a chance to win. And that's exactly what happened. Florida State did win. And this time, you had 4 of the starters in double figures. Daquan Davis had a team high 18 points. Bull Bowen, 14 points. Jameer Watkins wasn't great from the field. You'll take the double-double, though. 14 points. And Ewan had, what did he have? We'll check it. Yeah, so close to 10 points. All right, so nicely done. Nicely done. We play Wednesday. We travel down the Coral Gables against the Canes. The Canes have not been good. In fact, they're 4-10, 0-3 in the ACC. Suck it, Miami. As always, say it with me, friends. Suck it, Miami. They have a net ranking of 181. That'll hurt your feelings. That said, if you're in that area, just look this up as well. You can get a ticket for that game for $2.
Is it the Watsco Center still?
$2 will get you into that contest. God, dog. We are steps away from paying you to go to that game. Sweet Jesus. $2.
It's not dissimilar of what it costs to go to one of their football games, even when they're winning. You saw the crowds this year for some of those noon kicks or 3:30 kicks for home games. It's the best team they've had in a decade, 20 years. Nobody's there.
That hurts my soul. The ACC has 8 of their 18 teams with a net ranking of 100 or worse. I'm not here waving the flag for the league, but God, dog. Just a bunch of butt-sorry, no-playing basketball bitches in this league these days, and this used to be the pride.
Well, at least they're picking a time when less people are watching.
Well, that's true, too. I did watch Kentucky and Florida.
What?
Yeah, good game.
When was that?
Over the weekend, Saturday, and it was 106-100.
You could have said Friday at 8. I'd be like, oh, wow, they play Friday.
No, I watched it. It was good. It was a good game. Well, 2 ranked teams. Florida went into that game undefeated. They're unfortunately very good. Very, very good at basketball again. Kentucky pulled the upset at home over Florida. But I also watched a little bit of Arkansas, Tennessee, which stunk. But I would tell you that I'm just trying to ease back in a little bit of college basketball into my life.
RCJC, the SEC basketball guy?
Just a little bit of college basketball. But you got to watch where the good basketball's played, Tom. Just easing back in a little bit.
How did they become so much better than the ACC at basketball?
Money. The willingness to compete and pay for very good players and coaches.
But doesn't basketball revenue beget basketball success?
It doesn't.
Oh.
Man, turns out making an extra $39 million over everybody else in the ACC per season adds up. And at some point, maybe we'll care again too, but that'll hurt your feelings.
I was going to say, Tony in the chat has the right energy. 38 days till baseball.
It is the right energy. We are playing basketball. We did beat Syracuse. We are in the league. I am going to pay attention to some of what we do here.
It's funny how quickly it can happen, because the latter years of 11, it was, are you going to win it all or not? And the latter years can be defined as 10, 15 of them. Are you going to win it all or not?
Yeah.
And with Meat, the same questions persisted, even though that was unfair to him because that was his dad's issue about closing the deal in Omaha and not his own. Then, Link turns this thing around.
Well, it has that horrible first year, and we're thinking, no, not baseball too.
Right.
Are we going to lose everything? Are we going to lose everything? All the things? Are we losing all the things? Am I going to have to spend my days dreaming of FSU soccer and beach volleyball and softball? Because I can't do it. I can't.
Well, in those years, I had no problem with it because basketball was my deal, man.
Yeah.
That was we talked about that sport forever, even when it was in those lean years between 1.0 and 2.0, where they didn't play a whole lot of defense, but they started to bring in NBA guys like Dwayne Bacon and Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
And those teams were at least interesting and fun, and I was invested in that conversation, and it's just, I don't think it's age. I think it's aptitude. I think what Link has done to increase the aptitude level and the sport
has gotten better too.
If you've got a pitcher coming out in the 7th inning and he can throw 94, and that's not, reserved for the top 10 teams in the country.
Yeah, he'll be in the league.
It resembles the major leagues in at least some way, more than it ever has before. So yes, 38 days. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm just saddened specifically here for a moment just to say that you can go to this basketball game for $2. There was a time, man, not that it was two heavyweights per se, but when Ham had it turned back around and was kicking ass and Larinaga had gotten things going in Miami, this game, there was a lot to it. It was testy. Hate each other anyhow. There was a real atmosphere. My buddies down in South Florida would go over to that game, tailgate, get geared up, sparring back and forth, entering into the Watsco. It was on. Now there's like 7 people, and they paid very little to get in. They paid $2 to go sit in there on a Wednesday night in Coral Gables. Ooh. Hurts your soul.
It really, it's like that old building we were in the early days of the FM dial. It's just something new breaks every day. That's what this conference is. This conference is that building.
Who would have been our Jim Smith? Or who would have been our
You say his name? Jim Phillips? Yeah, did you combine the two?
Yeah, I combined the two. Yeah, Jim Phillips is who I was thinking of. Sorry, we did have a Smith, and I didn't mean it that way. Who would have been our Jim Phillips?
He's healthy enough to have you off. Be careful.
He might be listening. He's a big fan. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, everybody, it's Ed Dean along with Roger Henderson, also with FloridaDaily.com. Just want to remind you, daily 4 to 6 in the afternoons right here in Tallahassee on Real Talk 93.3 FM. Roger, it is literally the 2 fastest hours anywhere in afternoon talk radio.
And if you think the country's going crazy, we'll help you make sense of it all.
Oh, yeah, we'll try to make some sense of it. Again, Monday through Friday in the afternoons, Ed Dean, Roger Henderson on 93.3.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. $5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code AIRPORT25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code AIRPORT25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code AIRPORT25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
Jaguars had the season 4-13 after a 26-23 loss of the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. The Jaguars did cover as 3.5-point road underdogs. College basketball coming up at the O'Connell Center on Tuesday. It's Tennessee visiting Florida. The top-ranked Volunteers have won 14 consecutive games to start the year. Tennessee, the plus 260 second choice to win the SEC regular season title, behind Auburn at plus 135. The Florida Gators are 13-1, coming off their first loss of the season to the Kentucky Wildcats on the road. The Gators are 16-1 with the SEC. $250 bonus, and you open up a GBank Visa signature card. Visa.com/GBank. Mike Sun at Real Talk 93.3.
This sandwich is not just spicy, it's flavorful.
Hi, this is Matayo. And this is Elsa. And a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich is that spicy kick. Because the spice comes in at just the right moment.
Oh, no. A little thing I love is that cilantro lime sauce. It's a fun blend of zesty and bold. That's what really makes me happy. Are you going to eat all your fries?
Order a Chick-fil-A Grilled Spicy Deluxe Sandwich and a Diet Dr. Pepper on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Ain't nothing but a G-Pod, baby.
I am 99% sure that is not how the lyrics go.
Well, you like remixes, right?
Of course.
Well, think of this as a Grassroots Coffee remix per se, because Grassroots Coffee is now in the single-serve coffee pod game.
Dude, those single-serve coffee pods and cups are weak sauce.
Not Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. They have more coffee in them than regular single-serve pods and cups.
Seriously?
And not only do they have more coffee, they have a built-in filter for better brewing. They fit in most Keurig machines, and they are fully compostable.
It's still the small batch, slow roasted coffee you love, so go to grassrootscoffee.com and get your box of G-Pods today.
Baby!
See? Remix!
Well, actually, that's more of an homage.
Grassroots Coffee, locally owned, locally roasted, and made for everyone, loved everywhere.
Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. So very good.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
the house, take it on down the road. Or that you can just return to norm, that you can chill out, that you can just be. Get all the cleanup done that you wanted to get done? I never get all the cleanup done. I say I'm going to do this during the break. I'm going to do this during the break. I never do it. I don't do it. I'm too busy doing other things.
I got a fair amount, but it's funny how time flies. I did a deep clean before Thanksgiving. And
here we are.
And I'm like, you just kind of grunt. You're like, yeah, that could stand to get done.
You got time. I mean, buddy, we got games on all throughout the week this week. We got the golf that's returned. That's good. Beautiful settings in the backdrop. It's best to clean when there's something of interest on in the background on the big screen, but not something that you have to be locked into. The first thing you got to be locked into is this Thursday.
Yeah, well, even still, you're saying not be locked into? Texans-Chargers sounds like the perfect game to have on while
you're
doing something.
Not going to be locked in there, are you?
No, I don't need to see the 84,000 camera shots they have of Jim Harbaugh for every single play that they run. No. So I'll just, when I hear 3rd and 6 in the gun, okay, that's when my head turns around and we pick up the game and see what's happening.
You know what's interesting, and we'll talk, I mean, we got the rest of the week to get into the playoff games in both the NFL and college. But you look at a guy like Doug Peterson, who just got fired by the Jags this morning, and I'm going to bring this up next hour when I talk a lot of NFL, but I want to use him as a great example because it happens in college too. Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. Doug Peterson has had success early on with the Jags, had it going in the right direction. Like, putting together the kind of energy, synergy, the things you need to keep something propelling forward, it can be derailed by the littlest of things, which at the time may not be recognized as the significant shift that's going to derail you. Mike Norvell is a great example. I mean, we did not think that was coming. That's been well documented. None of us thought what happened this past year was coming. There was no reason to think it was. Even the most pessimistic amongst us would have said, oh, if they take a step back, certainly they might go 7-5 or 8-4. But we didn't see this coming. But then it happened. And then when it did happen, we spent a lot of time asking, well, how could it happen? And why did it happen? And who's to blame and who should be fired? And which, was there a specific moment in time when you recognize that, oh man, we should have known in this moment? Everybody's got an opinion on that. Some people go back to the Georgia loss in the bowl game. Some people go back to, obviously a decision to bring in DJ or whatever it might be. And that's up for debate. We won't know. We don't know. The chances are it was a confluence of many events that led to that season. But like a guy like Doug Peterson, who's in that league having success the way that he was and winning at the rate that he did, and then even going to a place like Jacksonville and, he was getting the most out of Trevor Lawrence. It looked like this was upwardly mobile. And to have that just not only take a shift towards the negative, but they went 3-14, Tom. Like Jesus, man.
Yeah, they earned it. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that is, whew.
It's like we said this year. You have to try to go 2-10 here.
Oh, here you do. In this league especially. Yeah.
In the same way. With them, 3-4. I mean, come on now. 3-14.
I mean, it's unreal. But it does show you some injuries, some poor decisions. You lose some guys, and the next thing you know, boom, you're done. You're done. The Titans actually 4-13. The Jags went 4-13. The Titans went 3-14, and thus they have the first pick. First time ever in Tennessee Titans history, they have the first pick in the draft.
That goes to show you. You told me 3-14. I believe it.
Well, yeah. But it's like, look, Cleveland went 3-14. Titans went 3-14. They win the tiebreaker to pick. Giants 3-14. I think they're drafting third. Some bad. The lower half of the league saw an awful lot of losing. But another good example, and we know he's a good coach, and we know injuries happen, and we know how quickly it can get away from you. The 49ers finished dead ass last in the NFC West. Dead ass last by 2 full games. Wasn't barely finishing last.
Yeah,
They went 6-11.
Well, they were in that cluster a month ago or 5 weeks ago where they had a chance, but they needed to get healthy, and they just kind of never did. It spiraled, and here they are. That one feels like a mulligan. You just toss the Shanahan's way and you say, all right, don't love it, but I mean, how many injuries can you take?
Right. They had a ton. Yeah, they had a ton. And it just kind of blossomed on them. And what are you going to do? But, we'll see. We'll see if the window is closed now, though. It doesn't take much for a window to close. You see that all the time. And then you see in a league that is built around 500, it's a salary cap league. You see teams in perpetuity losing, in a modern 17-game season, we see teams who on the regular lose 12 games a year. And you're like, well, the league's not designed for you to do that. You get the first pick, you get the second pick, you get the third pick, you get a lot of opportunities to not suck like this. How are you forever? That's why when it's ingrained, like as a franchise, like the Bears, they're cycling through coaches, getting it wrong over and over and over and over again. We'll see who they bring in. Pete Carroll might be the choice because they may want an offensive mind. He's a young 70 whatever, but I think he still wants to coach from what I've heard. To me, Vrabel's going to obviously take that New England job. I was looking at all the bonuses, and we'll talk about Mike Evans next hour with the $3 million catch and the 1,000-yard season, but Geno Smith hit on 3 of them yesterday. 3 of them in their win, and you talk about each one being massive. It's like, I remember flipping back and forth, and I had it on the ticket, and there was a completion, and I caught the tail end of the announcer saying that was worth $700,000 to Geno Smith. How do you gain your composure when you release it and you see a guy haul it in and that's a catch, and you're going, that's $700,000, baby. Woo! Like some days you have a good day. Maybe you get a bonus at your particular job or whatever it might be. We had a ratings bonus or something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, looks like Carrabba's, guys.
Who got a ratings bonus?
I'm saying that's it's very different when looks like the Maldives, boys. I mean, it's very different what you utter as that ball is complete if you hit on those kinds of incentives. Those playoff games are set as well. And as Tom will point out, the Texans get their rightful spot.
You can just put them in ink. Put them in ink. There's a couple of games that are intriguing. I wonder, though, how intrigued are you by Baltimore and Pittsburgh?
Well, okay, so quickly, that game would ordinarily be a lot of fun, except for the Steelers have fallen off a cliff. And offensively, I don't know if you watched Russ against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati, after the first drive, didn't play well and kept missing opportunities, and the Steelers defense were doing what they do, and they were getting pressure on Burrow, and it looked like Cincinnati was going to choke it away again. But boy, Russ.
Well, all they're doing is throwing on third down. They're running on first and second down every series.
Russ missed some open dudes, though, Tom. He missed some wide open dudes. It looked like Russ that was in Denver.
That's true, but this is, and far be it for me to defend Russell Wilson at this stage in his career. But if all you're asking the guy to do is make a throw on third down, and George Pickens drops 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, and, Pickens is annoying, so it made me smile that he did that.
But, those are some splash plays, one of them down the right sideline. That's a huge play for them. And again, far be it for me to defend the Steelers. I'm just saying that guys don't get in a rhythm. If you get Najee Harris and Warren the ball on first and second down every series of downs, you can't get a guy into the flow of the game.
You asked how interested I am in that game only because, for whatever reason, and I know they just played a few weeks ago, the Steelers have really had Lamar's number and overall in his career, and they have designed a game plan that has largely taken away his legs and made him make throws, and they eventually put pressure on him. He's behind the chains a lot. Now, that could totally change now that, you have Henry in a playoff situation. It kind of negates some of those issues that Baltimore's had in the past. And Baltimore's playing well right now, and Lamar's playing well. But Lamar was playing well last year, and they were hosting the game against Kansas City. And Kansas City had a bad season offensively, and everything seemed like it was going to go in the right way for Baltimore, and he was terrible in that game. And that's not the first time. And so why do I bring that up? I bring it up because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to cash it in. It's the one thing that's missing. He's done everything else there is to do. MVPs, yardage, points, records, all those things are there. Everybody knows he's a good quarterback, really good quarterback. But you have to eventually cash it in with a run into the Super Bowl, a run to win the whole damn thing. And if you don't play well in playoff games, it's a singular bad game, but it's times 10. The magnitude of that moment of not playing well after having a season like he's had, it's look, how different would Josh Allen's career now be if they didn't give up the lead with 13 seconds to play against Kansas City after taking the lead on the road, having the game that he did? They would have won that game. They would have won the Super Bowl in all likelihood.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I mean, like that's,
he would be looked at differently. Sure.
But that's not on him. That's that defense that gave it up that day. It's just amazing when you watch these things and how quickly it can define or alter the view of a career. So for somebody who's played as well as Lamar has and been so much better than I thought and many people ever thought he would be, there's only one thing left. And now the Steelers have been the one team that give him fits.
And this game has gone from even fight to, all the pressure is squarely on Baltimore. And that's the intrigue here. Is you play that game a month ago.
Yeah.
You flash forward from that point where they're just battling for the division. Pittsburgh's in front. Baltimore has to catch them. That's where this was. Pittsburgh needed to fall on its face for Baltimore to win the division. You would say, well, even fight here. If Lamar wins it, all credit to him. And now it feels like when Florida State, in another year than 2024, plays an FCS opponent in another year than 2024. And you say, there's nothing you can do. You're supposed to win. There's no style points here. Now, he could have a great day and people will talk about it, but in the end, we all know what the deal is before kickoff here. It's the Steelers can't make a layup, and Baltimore is a machine. And Lamar just had 40-4.
Well,
as his touchdown to interception ratio this year.
Here's
40-4.
Well, here's your Atlanta Falcons collapse that you just described the Steelers going through. The Falcons had a 2.5 game lead over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had won both the games head to head, were 6-3.
They collapsed?
They lost 6 of their final 8 games.
I don't know if I call that a collapse.
Yeah, 6 of their final 8 games. Now, maybe they are eased when they rest their troubled head on a pillow at night, not having made the playoffs yet again, by the fact that it does appear they stumbled into a quarterback. Not the one they paid $1 gazillion to, but the one that they drafted.
But who's not up for a new contract for 4 more years.
Yeah.
So you can shed that Kirky poo money in the next year or two and really do some damage.
I think they'll do what they can to get out from under Kirk as quickly as possible. But I mean,
it's fully guaranteed, right?
I got to double check that, but over 100 million of it is. Yes. Well, I'd hate to be the GM that went to Arthur Blank and told him this is the move we have to make. My man. Seems the move you did make, which was to draft Penix, was the right move, and we're paying that other ass what kind of money? Yeah, but Penix looks like he can play.
That ended up being a huge win for the NFL in the 1 o'clock window. The only hope they had was somehow, some way, the 2 NFC South games were interesting to keep people locked in, because otherwise that window has nothing. There's a couple of seeding things, but nothing on the line. And it ended up being extremely entertaining, and good job putting those games on different television networks so that people who did not have the ticket could have both TVs going, like myself or people in the Atlanta market. They had CBS, the Bucs were on Fox, and let's see what the hell happens.
You remember we were asked the question about whether or not last week, would you play Saquon Barkley? And when we were saying that the Eagles they were already locked into the 2. There was nowhere that they could go. There would be no reason to play him. Well, if you want further proof why you don't, see the Green Bay Packers, who played all their guys and promptly got them hurt, including their starting quarterback, who now has an elbow injury going into the playoffs. And damn it, man, what are you doing?
I know, but then you could look on the other hand and
say Detroit.
I mean, how fresh were they? They played on a short week, and who looked like they were ready to play and who was rested and ready for the moment. Getting Anzalone back helps, but it's more than just that. They were fresh, and Minnesota looked completely bewildered, specifically Darnold.
Darnold looked terrible, but they also they didn't cash in early in the red zone. They blew multiple red zone opportunities, which might have changed the complexion of that game. I will give Aaron Glenn and that defense a ton of credit. Detroit is one of these cool stories in the NFL where nobody can agree on anything, whether it's a superstar player that you like, that I hate, or you love, and I, whatever I'm indifferent about, whether it's a league or a team or a quarterback or a coach. There's the animosity in the NFL is interesting in that way. It kind of mirrors college football depending on regions, but this is what happens, right? You become a star and then we want to tear you down. So Patrick Mahomes largely been a good guy in that we can tell, not his brother, but anyhow, the point would be, as soon as you win too much, okay, I'm done with you, knives out, right? And that's fine. Then everything starts. But it seems to me the Detroit story is the one that almost everybody today is like, that's cool.
Yeah, as long as they scrap those alternate uniforms. Yeah.
But I mean, that story is cool. We've never said the road to the Super Bowl goes through Detroit. And today we do.
We've said the Super Bowl is in Detroit.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That's when Pittsburgh and Seattle play.
Yes.
Yeah, it's about the closest
the bus
thing.
was going home and we couldn't stop hearing about it.
Yeah.
But it's those fans starved as they are in a way that no other fan base has been starved. I mean, sweet Jesus, maybe Cleveland.
What's interesting about this weekend is I'm in the playoffs again, and so there's
they
a
do
redraft.
yeah.
So there's 4 teams. There's a lot of star power this weekend. I don't know how many good games there will be, but if you were to rank out the best quarterbacks, just say you did a DFS. You could look at it that way. You did a DFS lineup for this weekend, and the card was all of the games from Saturday through Monday. You've got 4 or 5 pretty good quarterbacks with a top tier of 2 or 3. You've got a ton of excellent receivers. You've got a lot of good running backs. You've got a lot of good tight ends. You got some good defenses. This is, again, I'm looking at the matchups, and I'm not really sure of anything except for Washington and Tampa, pending bad weather. As long as it's good weather, that should be a shootout. That should be a really fun game.
I'm going to go over the 50.5. I'm with you. By the way, to your point, let's help clarify that for a second. You're right on here. So just so those that don't know, the Saturday matchups, January 11th, this Saturday, you get the Chargers and the Texans as the first game at 4:30 because nobody cares about either one of those two teams.
Right.
And they're going to play that game at 4:30. And if you look at the two quarterbacks, it's both stars without question.
Yep. And you got your boy Ladd McConkey.
He's just steady making money for your boy over here. But Steelers, Ravens, certainly a superstar quarterback in Baltimore, and then one that is well known in Pittsburgh and at the back end of his career. Denver and Buffalo, you got a rookie that is trending in the right direction. Bo Nix looks like he is coming along nicely. You have a star in the league, and Josh Allen might win the MVP. Green Bay at Philadelphia. 2 fairly substantial stars in the league.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love.
And Saquon Barkley.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then Baker Mayfield has turned himself into a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback who is now like beloved in that area and really has won a lot of people like me over for toughness and overall. I mean, that third and long, that run, that is just in a nutshell.
Well, and then you got a guy in Bucky Irving who had 1,500 scrimmage yards, and he wasn't starting games. He wasn't even getting more than half the snaps until recently.
And is the reason you don't draft a running back in the first round. And then you have what I correctly predicted will be the Rookie of the Year quarterback in Jaden Daniels at Washington. Yeah, you do. Right. There's a lot going on those Saturday, Sunday matchups. The Monday matchup, a little less so. Stafford's a Hall of Famer, I understand.
But Kyron Williams was an awesome running back this year. And then obviously that Minnesota offense, if, when they're open, they get hit with passes. That's something. Aaron Jones has been an excellent player for them this year, but Addison and, of course, Jefferson are all. So you really, again, these could all be snoozers, but from a DFS standpoint, you got yourself a lot of volatility here, a lot of potential production.
Bet they're not snoozers. The NFL always is, these are pros, and there's a lot on the line. They're going to play hard. That game probably, because you have fewer possessions, these games tend to be close. Tried and True Consulting doing great work this past year, ready to launch into this new year doing the same, and in fact want to expand. I think we're going to do something with a golf tournament. We may double down with 2 golf tournaments this year, guys. It's all from the impetus of Tried and True saying, hey, we want to be part of something like that. That's a cool thing. They're doing a lot to help showcase businesses here in Leon County and all around the state, as well as obviously offering up their services for said businesses. The ad program will give you the much needed boost and exposure your company and services provide people. And they do it with a big ad board. They'll come in, install it for you. They do a lot more than that. You've heard me talk about what they do. As business owners, they're giving away 10% of their net revenue to the Battles Inn, who, by the way, is doing an awful lot of good work right now. Kudos to our friends at the Battles Inn. Sweet Jesus has been a good portal run here. Give Don or Joe or Rusty a call today, 844-463-6653, 844-463-6653.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Sellers, are you stuck between wanting to sell your home and waiting for rates to fall? Are you worried about the contingency of having to sell your home? What if you didn't have to? With a 2-1 rate buy down, you can lock in a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of your mortgage and get the home you want now, all while having a higher chance to buy that next home with the contingency of selling yours. If you wait for rates to fall, you risk more competition, sellers less likely to wait, and paying more for that next property. If you're stuck, we need to talk. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That's 954-369-6171. And don't forget, for every loan we close for our fellow Noles, I will personally donate $250 to the Battle's End.
Equal housing rent. NMLS number 373031.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the Battle's End. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, Maclay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Well, it's a new year, and it's time to make your yard look great again. Since 2004, the Lawn Johns have been keeping Tallahassee looking beautiful. In fact, when they do such a good job on your yard, you're going to say, wow, they did a good job on my yard. If I were to rate the Lawn Johns, I would give them, just like I'd give myself, an A+. Everyone knows the Lawn Johns are, and I have to say, the best. So pick up the phone and call 322-2567, or you can visit them online at thelawnjohns.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Ira Chaffel going to join us here momentarily, as he's wont to do on Mondays. We continue to monitor the portal. I got excited when Elijah Herring not only visited, but a day later signed with Florida State or committed to Florida State. You're seeing what we described last hour is an emphasis on some dudes that have played at a fairly high level. Something I failed to mention a moment ago when I was talking about FSU basketball was that the ladies also won, and Tania Lotson dropped 40. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Jeez.
Bryce, my oldest, you well know, pretty good little basketball player in his own right, said to me yesterday, Dad, do you think I could beat Tania Lotson in basketball?
To which you replied,
I don't know. That's a tough one.
It's a no.
I don't know.
It's a no.
Oh, buddy, I don't know.
Here we go.
You give way too much credit. But that's interesting.
She would make shots with incredible consistency.
Probably. You'd have to get good looks. If it's one-on-one, I don't know. Listen, I'm laughing that you just summarily dismiss it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I wonder if you think, well, that's a different discussion for the different time. I was going to say, if somebody is all-state men's basketball player in high school.
Which Bryce is not, God love
Definitely not. That's why I said I wonder if, and I was moving forward. If somebody is, you think they would beat Tania Lotson?
Depends what position they played, but probably so. I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it wouldn't be close.
Relative men's and women's strength.
Right,
really?
right.
We're doing that?
No, I'm just saying, like, you're awfully dismissive of a high school level kid, a 17 or an 18-year-old kid.
Yes, beating somebody who can drop 40 in Division I women's basketball.
In women's basketball, yes, she can. She can. In women's basketball, she's very, very good. I just like seeing you get pissed. It's not like I'm saying she sucks.
It kind of is.
It's that women's basketball sucks is what I'm saying. It's very different. And she's great at women's basketball. There's no doubt about that. And it's awesome. I'm glad she plays for us. And I'm glad that she dropped 40 and they won. Just like I'm glad for whenever I see anybody for Florida State doing well in anything. I'm just not so quick to assume certain things. That's all.
Glad you're here and you're vigilant in this particular war.
Oh, no. It's not a matter of vigilance. I just was countering your
dismissiveness.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Ira! He can weigh in. Ira will weigh in. He'll say, I think he sides with you on this one.
Dude, I'm just sitting here. I mean, Tom is being diplomatic. I love Bryce.
No. I gave in to the fact.
Oh, my gosh.
No. I gave in that she would beat Bryce. I gave into that. I moved it forward to if the guy was a high school all-state player.
I mean, a high school all-state player might be competitive, but dude, he plays like a dude. I mean,
no, she's awesome. She is awesome. I want to make it abundantly clear. She's awesome. I understand that. Partly just like needling Tom, because I've done that in the past with this particular discussion. But secondly, no, I gave in that she would beat Bryce. That's why I upped the ante and said, well, wait a minute. What about a guy who's all-state? Because that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different discussion. I do concede, and this is very good, that women's basketball in the time that I've been on the air, which is a long time now, has gotten to a place where we could even have a discussion. It used to not be that way at all. We used to jokingly say 4 dudes at the Y. You cannot do that now. There's no question you cannot do that now. Let's jump to football, where we can talk about what the Noles have added and what we're excited about. Specifically, what say you about what Florida State's done? I'm excited about, obviously, the things that we're all discussing, which is the experience and how well Florida State has targeted players that have significant playing time and success at the college football level.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm definitely excited about it. Nobody wants to overstate things. Nobody wants to, get carried away because what we just watched. And as excited as we were last year about the potential of that team and some of the guys they had brought in. So, we're all going to measure our words over the next few months. But, yeah, I mean, I think you just love the approach. I love what they're trying to do. And the fact that they've been able to do it. I mean, the commitment, we all have to, we all have our eyes wide open in 2025 that this isn't happening without a major financial commitment because NIL is a big part of this. And, the battle's end, and Florida State's done a really good job of kind of stepping up with this commitment to, bring in these types of players because there's other schools that want them as well. It's, and Florida State's done a really good job of getting kids on visits, getting them to believe in the program. If you step back and think about it, it's almost inconceivable, that these guys with choices of places to go chose to come to a place with the kid is coming off a 2-10 season. But I think it speaks to A, the changes they made in the coaching staff. B, Norvell's personality and his confidence and the fact that he's able to sell these guys that was a blip on the radar. And number three is that they have made the commitment from an NIL standpoint. So, yeah, man, we all knew Florida State wouldn't stand pat and just fade away into oblivion. They definitely seem to be making the right steps.
You make a really good point here about Norvell, because I hadn't thought about it this way. I had thought about, the commitment and, Florida State being all in, understanding that football cannot fail. But I hadn't thought about the fact that there has to be evidence from Mike to these kids, right? That he knows that he knows he had to change and screwed up, or that he's saying whatever that change is going to be, in addition to the coaching changes that everybody saw. They have to hear from him because he presided over the mess. So if I'm a kid, it's great that you made coaching changes, but you're still the head coach, and now I'm sitting down across from you. What do I have to hear from you that's going to convince me that 2 and 10 can never happen again?
Yeah, and I think, Tom and I, because of our relationship with Dominic Robinson, some of the things that, D-Rob does for us on the YouTube channel, I thought we got some good insight to that because, and Tom can tell you too, but D-Rob from the very beginning, when Florida State was recruiting Deuce, his son, they were blown away by Mike Norvell, and they were blown away by Gus Malzahn, and not just the personalities, but like showing them how they would be used, showing them what they were going to do, showing them their football knowledge, why it would be beneficial for them. Because look, man, at the end of the day, whether you're Deuce Robinson or Thomas Castellanos or Squirrel White or any of these defensive players, you're coming here to make yourself a better, you want to win games, obviously. You want to be part of something as a team, but you also want to get situated well for the NFL. And so they've been able to convince these guys of that. And, man, I think it speaks to not just personality and charisma. I think sometimes when you're dealing with high school players, the personality, the charisma, that stuff maybe goes a little bit further. But when these guys are making business decisions and they've got some real world experience now, you have to be able to show them that you're going to put them in positions to have that success. And clearly they've done that at a high level.
It's a hell of it doesn't matter until they went on the field, I understand. But in a weird way, that is a hell of a victory for Mike to win over kids after that. That speaks well to both understanding perhaps what went wrong and being able to concisely explain it, and then also getting, obviously, people to buy back in because you're doing it again. You're getting people to buy back in again to the whole Norvell thing, which is absolutely huge. I don't understand. Let me ask you this. Maybe you do. Why they're interested in the running back out of Utah State?
My impression is it's just because he's interested, and they think it would be a mistake to pass up on him if he's interested. Again, if you look at the decisions they're making, we can sit here and say, I think we've been saying now for the last 2 or 3 months is, just get back to 8-4, just get back to decent, and then see where you can go from there. But I think, if you're Mike Norvell, if you're the powers that be when it comes to authorizing investments in a program, and you think there are guys out there that can take you to the next level. I don't want to compare these two situations, but I do think there's a similar situation. You think about Keon Coleman. I didn't think Florida State needed to go get a receiver, and I don't think they were looking for a receiver. But when Keon Coleman came on the market and they realized he was interested, okay, what could that look like? And so to me, I think it's one of those. I don't think they were looking for a running back. And if this guy decides to go to a different school, I think Florida State will move on and not even consider it. But if you've got a chance to get a potentially elite college player, 1,000-yard rusher, I think they feel like they have to at least look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting because what ends up happening is you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, what's that going to cost them? And where would you, perhaps invest that money elsewhere? And, of course, we're all jaded in the sense that I would think when in doubt, fall back on investing that money in offensive and defensive linemen, although they've done a very good job so far doing just that with the offensive line. I'm going to guess that there's probably at least 1 or 2 more still to talk about that they'll bring in. What were your thoughts about Elijah Herring coming in? That was huge for Florida State. Obviously, they've made quite a bit of headway, both on the offensive line and at linebacker.
Yeah, no question. I would say defensive line, I think, has probably been the one position where you'd say you would maybe getting Daryl Jackson back was huge. But I think, there's a couple guys on the defensive line that I'm not sure are going to be, major upgrades from what they've had in the past. But I do think at linebacker, no question, I think you've got multiple guys there now that elevate that room. And if you do see progress from that next tier of guys, Omar Graham, Cryer, Blake Nicholson, those guys, now that room could be really something special. And then on the offensive line, I think I really have no complaints at all. You got a bunch of guys who've played and started a lot of college football games. And we said that about that group last year, but this is different. These are guys that have played and started at other programs, and some of them at a very high level. You're talking about, in the SEC, and so I really like what they've done there. So really the only place I would say it all, and I think that the upside from a guy like James Williams could be huge on the defensive line, but he's been a situational pass rusher. Could he be an every down defensive end? I don't know. You got Deontay McCray, the other one from a smaller level,
right?
So that's a position where I'm just kind of curious about a little bit, just to see how that plays out. But otherwise, I really can't argue with anything they've done.
Brother, it'll be good to see you in studio tomorrow. We'll get back at it with Seminole headlines. Be good, sir.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks.
Yep. It's Irish Chappelle, Warchant.com. He and Corey Clark and myself will reconvene for the first time in the last couple of weeks to do headlines. Look forward to it tomorrow. And I mentioned something a moment ago, but I should have brought it up to him. We'll talk about it in a second. Marvin Jones signing with Oklahoma. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
What would have been Tallahassee's 11th annual Night to Shine prom event this year has been canceled. In a social media post to Facebook Friday afternoon, Shine Tallahassee announced that Genesis Church in Tallahassee will no longer be able to host the Tim Tebow Foundation's Night to Shine event this year. It was initially scheduled to take place in February. We know how much this event means to our community, and we understand the disappointment and sadness that this news may bring. Shine Tallahassee said in a post Friday, the event is a prom for people with special needs, ages 14 and up. The prom is just one of 800 nationwide, co-sponsored by the Tim Tebow Foundation. Last year, about 3,000 people were expected to attend the annual prom. Additionally, Shine Tallahassee said while they are unable to gather for the special event this year, they look forward to the other exciting events they will host in the future. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly clear skies this afternoon with a high of 69. Winds out of the northwest, 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 32. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. High temperatures reach up to 50 tomorrow. Mainly sunny. Partly cloudy Wednesday with a high of 53. 51 Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawns.com. Right now, 63.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And,
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe in
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I mentioned it a moment ago, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it since it happened. Marvin Jones signed with Oklahoma out of the transfer portal.
Anybody in Norman giving you a call to break down what he's bringing to the table for the Sooners?
If they did, I didn't answer it. Not because I wouldn't want to have the conversation, but just because we were on holiday. And I wasn't going to talk about guys leaving the program per se. And I wouldn't have a lot of great things to say, even though I wanted to. I was surprised when I double-checked. He did have 4 sacks. Were they all in the Cal game? Were they all in the one game?
A couple of them, yeah.
I don't remember any of the others. It might have been. And again, Marvin Jones, his dad, is my favorite player in Florida State football history, and I was so excited when right after we missed on him the year prior and he went to Georgia, I thought maybe we'd never see him again, and then we got him, and I was, we listed the many disappointments of this past year. Pretty high on my list because I really wanted him to be awesome. And we have talked about how he certainly looked like a guy that should be awesome and then simply wasn't. But
there's one in the Florida game and one in the SMU game in terms of these sack totals.
And the other 2 were against Cal?
That is correct.
So not a ton of production, 25 total tackles in his time at Florida State and those 4 sacks. I don't wish him any ill will at all. I never saw him as like a problem or anything like that. Some guys can be disruptive in the locker room or cause problems at practices and things like that. He didn't do those things. But it just never seemed like he got comfortable and certainly never seemed like he was going to reach his potential, and maybe he will at Oklahoma. And I watch a ton of Oklahoma, so if he has to go somewhere and become good finally, if he does it at Oklahoma, I'd be happy with that as the Sooners being my other team, a second team, if you will. But I have my doubts. It just shows you that people can't quit on guys that come from that stock and look like that. Like, you just can't bring yourself to – you refuse to believe the evidence that tells you he's not a very productive player.
I can't imagine it was an expensive acquisition,
for Oklahoma.
That's the other part of it too. So, we'll take a shot on him for this price.
Well, you take a shot on that level of athleticism and size. You do, and Jimbo used to talk about that, and we all thought about that. Like, you take a chance on a guy who's had whatever problems in the classroom or problems off the field or whatever. And when you ask coaches about that, and Marvin hasn't had any problems that I'm aware of, I'm not trying to insinuate that. I'm just saying, for different reasons, guys either achieve or don't achieve to the level of the expectation foisted upon them coming out of high school. And obviously your name, if you're Marvin Jones Jr., draws attention, but then you have the success that he did in high school, and then you get as a 5-star recruited to Georgia. The expectations are immense. It didn't really happen, although towards the end of the year at Georgia, it looked like he was coming on. He was starting to get real playing time for them, and that is Georgia. I mean, they got a lot of really good players. So you thought, oh, okay, well, he's unhappy there. Maybe he's a little bit further down the depth chart than he would have liked. He comes to Florida State. We assume, given what Florida State was losing, he's going to get a ton of playing time. We should see him take off, and it just didn't happen. So you begin to wonder if it ever will happen. Again, I'm rooting for him, but man, there's a lot of evidence that says he doesn't seem to play real hard. And good luck. Maybe they'll get it out of him. I will say this: Oklahoma's defense, more highly functioning year over year. Maybe he fits into a perfect role for them, right? Because they were very good. They were terrible on offense, but they were very good on defense a year ago.
Well, also, this is the last chance. So, sometimes that is what is needed in order for it to click for somebody. And it could be that I don't love this, but you know what? A lot of people don't love their jobs. And if I could do this for 4 or 5 years, thankfully my job puts me in a position where I could retire if I'm good at it for 4 or 5 years, and I could just call it a day.
I remember thinking, and I was so happy to see in the second half of the season, we got really the last 8 games of the season, we got a very different level of effort from Darrell Jackson. And I remember the knock on Darrell was that he too didn't love football. He's just blessed with being 6'5", 330 and athletic at that size. And those were the whispers we heard. So he goes to Maryland, then he goes to Miami, then he comes to Florida State. And right at the moment that there were whispers he was willing to leave again, right? That it was going to happen, that he was going to transfer out again. I remember thinking, A, that's frustrating, but B, the easiest thing in the world is to lay bare the amount of sacrifice that would be necessary to change you and your family's life. Like the idea that you just walk into a room and say, look, man, you don't have to love football. It helps because the sport's hard. And it's usually easier to do something that's really hard if you have a passion to do it. You know, you can withstand a lot of the downside of whatever it is you're doing if you happen to have a passion for it or you love it. And that means enduring, you know, the grueling workouts and the physical pains that come with playing a game like football. It means the training and all of the sacrifices you have to make if you love it. It gets hard to do those things if you just don't like to do them. But I always thought with him, wouldn't you just say, Daryl, do you realize that you are a monster? Like, how many guys would dream of having your size? Now, listen, to be sure, you worked hard enough to help develop some of that. But some of that is really, really good fortune for you. And if you are able or willing to push really hard for, say, a year or two, you're going to be rich. You don't have to have it. Nobody says you have to have a 15-year NFL career, 12 years. You don't have to go get the second and third contract. Play your ass off for a year. You'll be a first-round draft choice. There's some guaranteed money that comes with that, Daryl, that changes lives. It would seem that you could draw it out of them. Now, I'm glad Florida State finds themselves in a position not necessarily to have to say that because Daryl upped the ante and played really well in the second half of the season in particular.
It's almost like he played himself into shape, it felt like. You know, like, and that part of that is having a year off from the sport. I think there's something to that. Adam Fuller came out and said that at a Monday press conference in the first third of the season. He did go without playing real live speed football for quite some time, and you rotate a lot, so it's not like you get expedited exposure.
Yeah, there's something to that, I suppose. I hadn't thought about that, the whole year off thing. He was working out. He did practice.
Right.
He did have those days.
And he did own some days in practice,
yeah.
But it's still not the same no matter how much you do. And I doubt he scrimmaged, just judging by the way we do things, which I hope changes this upcoming spring and fall camp.
That's the other big question that we're all going to have when we go into spring is do they do things differently? And how different is it? Does it look when we're there, when we're able to watch? We still probably will not be able to see scrimmages, of course. But I have my questions about that just because, again, running the system that we're running, it's a new one. I would think you'd want to have guys playing at full speed, see what it looks like, and going, full bore. Everybody except for the quarterback, perhaps, being, all in on those kinds of contacts and those kinds of things, I would think. Don't know. But with that many new pieces to the puzzle, too, you got to see who's what. We were just talking about Deuce Robinson. We were talking about the tight end Randy Pittman. We were talking about Squirrel White. You could do the same thing with all these new faces on defense, plus new schemes. Maybe one good all-out scrimmage. Maybe at least one where we get a sense of what it is live and what it looks like. I should take a look. I did not have not been in the chat. Steve has a housekeeping request. He doesn't want the Warchant staff to use "we went undefeated in 2023 and we had a 10-win season in 2022. That's easy to do. Sure, Steve. Any particular reason? Just because we went 2-10 this year, or?
I guess we're not allowed to say that they won 2 games last year either. We can't look at the past for anything.
I can't mention that they went 2-10.
I don't know. Well, if we can't say that they went,
I'm going to mention that they went 2-10. I tend to document the records. We tend to have the discussions about how many they won or didn't win. Like when they won 10, it was kind of a big deal because they needed to win 10 because they had lost 7 the year before. And when they won 13, that was a big deal too. Mattered to win 13. It's also a big deal to lose 10. It's a really big deal to lose 10. So, yeah, man, I'm going to mention the 10 losses until they show me something better.
Well, maybe Steve just wants us to talk about only the 10-loss season and not any of the predecessors. Maybe that's what it is.
I'll talk about all of Mike's seasons since he's still the head coach and we're judging him accordingly on all of the seasons. And they all come with certain caveats, the good and the bad and everything in between, and certain theories about why they happened the way that they did. I would say, obviously the pressure on Mike is immense and everybody gets it. And guess why that is? I know you don't want me to mention it, but it's because they lost 10 times last year. So that's going to be important.
Level of concern you would have if practice looks the same in structure.
Well,
I want to get out in front of that, because what if Mike says, no, this is the way we're structuring it. We just need to have better players and we need to have better instruction.
I just have a hard time believing it won't look somewhat different. Now, it may not be radically different in terms of the way they break the groups up and rotate the
amount
periods.
of time given to special teams.
Yeah, well, but the amount of periods will be roughly the same, I would think, and each of those periods will be the same time and all that stuff. I just think there has to be more of a physical element to practice. I'd like to see that. I think when you're changing your defensive scheme and you brought in the coaches that you did, you're going to see some more physicality, I believe. But I could be wrong. Yeah, I would probably be concerned because I think at its core, we talk about Detroit and the Lions and Dan Campbell. And, how many people watch the Hard Knocks clip where he's talking to them about tackling and running after the catch? And he's imploring them and saying, guys, believe me, we won't do this every day, but you have to do this. I believe you have to do this so that you can be good. What are we going to do? Wait till you get to week 8 and suddenly you have a good performance because finally you're caught up to speed? I can't do that. All I do is think about you guys every day. He's right. That's right. You got to do it. It's like getting hit in boxing when you train. You got to get hit because you're going to get hit. So there's an element of it. You got to have it.
I would imagine that it's going to look different. I'm not trying to put pressure on the situation to where, they can't succeed the old way, because they did, but you have new minds coming in here. I'm sure that they would get input on what drills that they would like to use and, how things need to be run. And I'm sure Mike is in the mode in some ways saying, whatever I did last year, I'm doing the opposite this year.
That's what I keep thinking too, is I think that's the approach. It's like, hey, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this again. Bonus hour coming up. A lot of NFL talk. If that's your gig, stay tuned. Tommy, talk with you tomorrow. Peace.